Welcome back to Toolbox Tours. If you're not familiar with this channel, I go all over the country and I interview different technicians in different industries, and they give me a tour of their toolboxes. I try to create the best possible video I can for them and for you guys at home watching. However, sometimes those videos are crazy long, like 2 hours, which is cool for me because I get to hang out with them for a long time, which I understand if you're skipping some parts, but sometimes you can skip over some really cool tools. What I like to do every once in a while is I'll go through some of the videos that I've done before, and I will spotlight some of the tools that I've seen that I don't see in very many toolboxes that I think should be in your toolbox because they're really valuable. I did a toolbox tour with Ryan Mullins a couple months ago, and he had these really cool flip sockets that I had never seen before.
These flip sockets are like the best thing ever. So it's an 8 and a 10, and there's a magnet in it. So like if you're doing under panel bolts, I work on a lot of BMWs, so like I can put the bolt in there, and so I can put an under panel bolt in there, hang it on my pocket, put up the under panel, and then you've got a bolt to put it in. Or like when you're taking out a bunch of bolts, it holds the bolt in it, so I can take it out, grab it, take it out, grab it. It's so good. Now
these are really cool. These are made by a company called Malco. They're just like little flip sockets. Like this is an 8 and 10. The kit I got comes with 4 different sockets. There's an 8 and 10, 6 and 8. This one's a 1/4 inch, 5/16, and a 5/16 and 3/8. Just a bunch of really common small sizes. Each socket has its own adapter, and each adapter has a magnet on the end so that it captures whatever you're trying to put on, like a nut or a bolt. Really cool idea. I feel like this would be a time saver for a lot of guys. Ryan said he uses these a ton, which I don't blame him. Like these are really cool, impact rated, 1/4 inch, and has a magnet inside. Can't beat it. Now Klein also makes something similar, and it's these guys. Now there's just one big long adapter here, and these work similar because they're all flip sockets, but it's kind of different at the same time. There's a magnet on this adapter as well. But the difference between this one and those is there's one long adapter, and all of these can kind of slide on this single adapter. Like Ryan said, he would take something like this out to a parking lot and hook it up to his 1/4 inch impact, kind of like this. And that way you don't have a bunch of loose sockets everywhere, and you have basically every socket you need. Like, it's just awesome. I did a toolbox tour not too long ago with a guy named Josh, and he had this in his box.
This is a good old Amazon find from one of our master techs here. You plug in different ports.
Okay.
And it will diagnose if there's an open. And then if you have an intermittent fault on like a USB, so we have a lot of Apple CarPlay concerns. I think every brand does nowadays. You plug into their cord here, and it will actually tell you if there's a fault. You can wiggle the cord and see it will read it if it is bad or good. It gives you the confirmation, because like I for a long time it was basically tell the customer, okay, let's get you a new cord. That's going to be the first start before we go and replace this $1,000 radio unit. So this is nice, just to give a confirmation. And when I actually do have a bad one, I can do a video and show them. I've also used it to diagnose like scan tool cables. Like occasionally they'll go bad, so it has like a port that I can plug it into and check them out and stuff. So.
Now I am so surprised I don't see this more often. This will test just about any USB cord out there. So it's got inputs for the different USB cords. So type A 3.0, 2.0, and then a USB-C input. And these are all the outputs that you put the cord into. So basically this will test the USB cord by plugging one end here and then the other end into the output. And then it has a whole bunch of different LEDs in here that will light up corresponding to what those pinouts are. And depending on what lights up, will let you know what that cord is capable of doing, what it should be doing, and what it's not doing at the moment when it should be. It uses a little tiny battery at the top here to power this little circuit board. And so I have a USB-A to USB-C cord here, basically something that would charge like a newer iPhone or a newer like Android or whatever. So I would put this into the input for USB-A, and then I would find the output for USB-C, and these are all the LEDs that correspond to the different pinouts inside of this USB cord. So this is going to tell you if this cord, for one thing, it's going to tell you whether or not this cord is good. And number two, it's going to tell you the type of cord. So this is going to tell you if this can transfer high-speed data or if it's just good for charging. So if you get customers that come in and they have trouble with their, like Josh was saying, trouble with their Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and they're saying, yeah, I have this cord, it's brand new, and it's still not working, we can say, well, according to this cord is only good for charging, it's not good for high-speed data transfer. Or maybe this cord has an intermittent problem to where you can say, look at this, if I move this cord, you can see these LEDs flashing. That's showing in real time that this cord is the problem. It's not the problem with the unit itself. Because it just makes it a lot easier to be able to show the customer this rather than just say, hey, I think it's your cord because every time I wiggle it, you know, it malfunctions, you know. You can even use this for like 12-volt accessory plugs where like you charge your phone, just like a cigarette lighter basically. They have those all over RVs, cars, anything, right? You can use this to diagnose whether or not it's the cord or if you need to diagnose the socket itself. It's super easy. Say if somebody comes in and they're like, yeah, my socket's not working, we can say, yeah, it's there's a continuity problem with that cord. So you need to get a new one. And so this unit does come with some literature, and it shows you what LEDs should light up for certain cords. This doesn't have everything. This is kind of just like a quick guide, but it's kind of it'll get you started in the right direction. I'm sure you could find some more stuff online, but it's so cool. So cool to know that there's a way to test these USB cables. Not too long ago, I had Aaron Colton on the show. He's a stunt bike rider sponsored by Red Bull, and he had one of these in his box.
I rarely use crescent wrenches, but honestly, the majority of the time I do, it's on like casters or pneumatics.
Okay.
And for the exact reason, this is thin, super thin face. So Bahco is who makes these. I think Snap-on rebrands a version of these. I use this low profile one quite a bit.
These are awesome. So this is Bahco and they're made in Spain. The thing about these is they're really thin on the ends here. And so if you don't have a set of thin wrenches, like everybody seems to make a set of thin wrenches, this basically takes that set, because I don't think people typically use those thin wrenches all that often. So to have a whole set of them in your box taking up space when you could just have something simple like this. Typically when you're using a wrench like this that requires, you know, really thin access, it's not going to be a high torque setting. And like I said, you're not going to be doing this very often. So if you don't already have a set of thin wrenches, this could definitely take the place of that, and then you wouldn't have to buy a whole set of them. This is also really awesome for like die grinders. Aaron mentioned this too. Like if you're going to use, instead of having to keep all those little tiny wrenches for these air grinders and stuff, you can just use this guy, and look at that, fits perfect. So if you ever have those instances where you're like, well, I don't really want to buy an entire set of thin wrenches because I just don't use them very often, this is really all you need. It's really small. Like they make different sizes. I like this one because it's fairly compact and small. And like I said, typically when you're using these thin access areas, you're not putting a whole bunch of torque on it. So having a smaller wrench kind of makes sense. Going back to Ryan Mullen's setup, he had one of these.
BMW, I had like 3 times in a week I had 5 series that had a bad coolant reservoir. And like I don't want to drain the whole coolant system for that. So I bought this huge thing from CTA that I can suck out a whole coolant reservoir, replace the coolant reservoir, and then put it all back in. And like it locks, so like you can suck out all the fluid, lock it, set it to the side, replace the coolant reservoir, and then put it back.
This is awesome for anybody that wants to take just a little bit of fluid out of any of your systems. So if you have coolant or you have a differential or anything that you want to take fluid out, even if you don't want to keep it. So like if you want to keep the fluid, you can pull it out, and then there's a lock at the top here. So you lock it, and then the fluid won't come out. Like this is locked at the top, so you can just set this aside while you work. And then when you want to put everything back in, you just unlock it and then, you know, put it all back in. These are so cool and so handy because there's always times where maybe you put too much fluid into something, or you're just trying to get a certain amount out. I used to have like one of those turkey basters where you can like squeeze the handle and then some of it gets into the handle. This is just so much better. But if you don't need something quite that robust, like this just feels like a quality tool. Like it doesn't feel like something that's real cheap or not well put together. It seems like something that's gonna last a long time. But if you don't need something quite this big, like this holds 1.5 liters, OEM Tools makes this guy, which is a little bit smaller. This guy only holds about 0.3 liters, and it doesn't have that locking ring to keep the fluid inside when you set it down. But if you just need to take a little bit of fluid, say like for like your anything really, like your brake fluid reservoir, clutch reservoir, or even coolant reservoir, if you pour too much fluid in there, you just try to take a little bit out. This would be perfect for something like that. If I were to get one or the other, I'd probably get the bigger one, just because it can hold more fluid and has that locking ring. But ultimately, having both of these around definitely makes sense. Now I did a toolbox tour with Derek not too long ago. He worked on big rigs. He did a lot of like restoration work on those. And he had one of these in his box. This is a multimeter?
Yeah, it's just a little guy, little pocket one.
What?
Yeah. You don't have to have that big giant one.
Look at that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That looks super handy.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Use it all the time.
And it's pretty like accurate and stuff?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
I've tested it, put it up against my Fluke, and it's the same.
And these are awesome. This is just like a little multimeter. Like they call it a pocket size one. Look how tiny it is. But I like this because it has the cover, right? These are incredibly cheap. And it has a dedicated set of leads in here. These are not removable from this unit. But realistically, this is like a backup unit. Like if you ever have a travel kit or anything like that, or if you want to have something that you can lend out to people, or just something that you don't want to bring like your Fluke or something, and you just need something that does really quick measurements. Like this does AC, DC volts, ohms checks. It also does continuity checks, but I love it because it's tiny. Like, and it has this case on here. So if you ever do throw this in like your to-go pack or whatever, that's not going to get damaged. Like the screen and stuff is protected. This unit won't turn off or won't close unless it's turned off, which is kind of a neat feature. It also has some other details on here that you can read while you're doing the measurements and stuff. I just like how tiny and portable it is, just for really quick measurements. Kind of neat. Next tool is a tool that I haven't seen in another toolbox before. I've seen variations of it, but it's just a thermal imaging camera. This one is made by Topdon. I know Snap-on sells one, and like FLIR has a whole lineup of their thermal imaging cameras. This was 150 bucks. Now I know they make some cheaper units on Amazon that kind of connect to your phone, things like that. The reason I wanted to get one that's just kind of standalone by itself is because like I'll get a new phone eventually, and I don't want the technology or the apps to get outdated and me not to be able to use that thermal imaging camera down the road. Like this, as long as the battery lasts or stays healthy, it will work. So this has a fairly high resolution thermal imaging camera. And I wanted to do some quick tests with you because a lot of the technicians that I see have these, they say they're able to use them for parasitic draw tests, or like heated steering wheels or heated seats to see if there's any broken elements in there. Just real quick, I want to show you guys if this can do that for $150 with it being a standalone unit. Some things about it real quick. It can take pictures with it, and it starts up really fast. Like I know some of the thermal imaging cameras take forever to start up, but this one starts up really fast. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a big deal to people, but I thought it was kind of cool. So I have my 6-year-old in the seat of my S2000. He's going to turn on the headlights. I'm going to measure I'm going to point the thermal imager right at the relay for the headlights to see if they heat up, because I'm really curious to see if this is really a viable option for parasitic draw tests. I know headlights can draw a ton of amperage, but this will be a really quick way to see if that works or not. So my S2000's a mess. So these two relays are the ones we're going to be looking at. All right, they just got flipped on. So I already see a ton of heat from that fuse and the main battery lines. Let's see if those relays heat up a bit. So it looks like there's a fuse there and a fuse there. Like I said, all of these are getting really, really hot. It looks like there's another fuse back here, but it looks like these two relays are for sure showing a lot more heat than the rest of this. So it's kind of neat. I would imagine if I left this for a minute, you know, to where it's really putting a drain on the battery, yeah, you can definitely see those two relays are generating some heat from having the headlights on. That's awesome. And this can save images as well. So you just click the trigger on the very front and it'll save images in here as well. So, all right, you can turn it off, buddy. So yeah, test confirmed. When you have a certain situations where something like this would come in handy, this would really be good for like catalytic converter diagnostics too, because that way you can actually see the heat and where it's being generated versus just trying to use a regular temperature gun. Another tool that wasn't inside of a toolbox that I just stumbled upon. This is made by Streamlight. It has a flexible end on it. And so you just push the end and it lights up. And it's just got a little LED on it for really, really tight access areas. For like, if you ever do under dash work, this is freaking perfect because this can fish anywhere. So like if you're trying to look behind like a blower or like under the dash in a really tight area where you have your like your regular Streamlight Stinger or any other flashlight, and you just can't get in there, and you put this in there. So this has a trigger on the end that you have to hold, and then it turns on, or you can screw the end down, and then it'll stay on, you know, until you unscrew it. Just an awesome, awesome tool. This is also really cool for like going between like intake manifold runners. So like if I wanted to go in the engine bay, and again, my car is just like a mess. I never mess with it anymore. But like if I wanted to look down inside underneath the intake manifold, you know, I can see that the flashlight is showing light, and then I can move my mirror down in there. It's kind of difficult to have a flashlight point light exactly where you want it when it's tight quarters like that. So when I saw this, I thought it was really cool. I wanted to share it with you guys because I haven't seen it in very many boxes. Next thing are these Titan universal joint sockets. These are awesome. I saw these again in Ryan Mullen's box. Just Ryan has a ton of really awesome tools, but these are spring loaded, so they're never gonna get like floppy or anything like that. Ryan said he abused these and they still hold up. I think these are awesome because I always used to put like electrical tape on the outside of mine, and it was so frustrating. So just knowing that they have these as an option is really cool, and super inexpensive for what they are. Check them out, pretty cool. Now I did a toolbox tour with Charlie not too long ago. He had the massive snap-on toolbox, and he had these in his box.
Walton tap extractors. I just used one the other day and got a tap out for the new guy. He broke a tap off, and they just pull them right out.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss. I have great luck with these, and there's people out there like, those don't work and stuff. I haven't had it not work yet, so.
That's cool to hear that it worked out for you.
Yeah, that was way worth it.
So Charlie uses these all the time. He told me he even made a video of him breaking a tap off and using these to extract it. So if they're good enough for Charlie, they're good enough for me. Granted, this isn't gonna be a be-all end-all solution. This is just another tool to put in your toolbox to add to your arsenal of other tools. You have that oh shit drawer where you just like, you open it and you don't want to be in there. This is just another tool to help you in those situations. Having this set at your disposal is definitely a plus. I've seen these in a bunch of other toolboxes, but I never really got a whole lot of response from people that have them, just because a lot of people don't really run into that situation where they're breaking taps off constantly, whereas Charlie does a lot of that work where he uses these, uses taps a lot. You know, he break taps off inside of a motor, and he says these work great. So more is always better than less when you're dealing with extracting stuff. That's all I can say. So the thing I'm most excited about this whole video, it's kind of silly. So I did that toolbox with Charlie. He had this in his toolbox.
This is just a heated lunchbox. And you just plug it
heated
in.
lunchbox?
Dude, so nice.
What?
Like 3 or 4 cans of chili and hot dogs in there.
Way.
And you have chili cheese dogs. We'll just like pig out on it.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a little crock pot.
That's awesome.
But it will boil water, so it gets,
Whoa.
it gets up there.
It's a heated lunchbox. Freaking cool. This is ridiculous. I'm putting this on this video, but I feel like there's so many guys that you know, you get into a groove and you're just hustling all day and you don't really have time to cook something warm for yourself. And if I had this back in the day when I was wrenching, I would have used this every single day. Now this specifically tells you not to put anything in here that's not already cooked. So if you have cans of like beef stew or some chicken soup or something like that, that'd be perfect. Charlie said he put chili dogs in here, which I'm gonna try chili dogs because that sounds freaking delicious. I don't know how long it's gonna take to heat food up, so I'm probably gonna just leave it for a couple hours. That's what I would think most technicians could use this for, is just when you get to work, you can pop in some soup or some chili or, like I said, beef stew or something like that, and just let it sit. So this is supposed to get food hot enough to where it's food safe to eat later in the day. So it just seems so perfect. It has this top. It seems ridiculous. I'm doing a lunchbox unboxing on this channel. But it has 4 different latches. Okay, so the top has these 2, I guess, cubbies or whatever. It comes with a fork, and then on this side, there's a spoon and then a vent port. It says you're supposed to open the vent port when you plug it in, which kind of makes sense so you don't build a bunch of pressure in it. Cool little handle. On the side here, it has 2 different ways of charging. If you want to plug it into a car 12 volt or into the wall, You can do that with either one of these. It comes with 2 different cords, so you just follow this diagram here. When you open it, it has, this is ridiculous. So it has an instruction manual, which is kind of worthless, but it has this little thing, and this is kind of just a Tupperware that it fits inside of this pretty good. But it has 2 cords. This one is for, you know, your car. This one's for plugging into the 120 in the house. Has a little lunchbox holder, which is cool, right? So if you wanted to, you could start it up at home, and then you know, when you get it here, you can plug it back in. This whole tray comes out, so you can wash it when you get done eating, or you can take it out to eat, whatever you want. When Charlie showed this to me and he was mentioning chili dogs, like my mouth started to water because it sounds so good. So I'm gonna try chili dogs just to see how it goes. But like I said, I know that a lot of guys who hustle all day long, they kind of neglect eating. Like I remember when I was a technician, I rarely had time to eat like a full meal. I know that, you know, industries have certain standards, like, hey, if you're clocked out for lunch, you're clocked out for lunch, and you're not supposed to be bothered, right? But if you're in a situation where there's not much help and it's a fast-paced environment and you're going and going and going all day long, you don't have time to take 30 to 45 minutes out of your day. It's the reality of the industry for a lot of places. Not everywhere is like that, but for a lot of places, you don't have time to just sit and just, you know, take a long break. So the other beauty of this is that you can start your lunch. This sounds terrible, but it's the reality. You can start your lunch, and then when you get interrupted or something like that, or you have to go, you know, help somebody, you can put your food back in here so that it stays hot. And then when you have an opportunity to come back to eat the rest of your food, you can eat the rest of your food nice and warm. It's not gonna get cold or get flies all over it while you're helping somebody else. So, and I'm not saying that I'm for that, because there were times when I was a technician where I needed to eat. And like I started shaking because I needed some like sugar or energy, some sort of sustenance, and there was nothing that I could do because I was buried in work. Like they just wouldn't let me. And I remember one time, okay, I'm kind of rambling here. I remember one time where I told a technician, I said, hey, or I told my boss, I said, hey, I need to go eat. And he said, no, you got to get that done. You don't eat till I eat. And he told me that. I flipped the freak out. And I am really low key. I really keep to myself, and I usually, but oh, that really rubbed me the wrong way. And I told him, no, I gotta go eat. And he says, what am I supposed to tell the customer? And I say, you're supposed to tell him that you buried me and you didn't let me have an opportunity to go eat, and you're gonna let my technician eat. That was one of the rare times I kind of spoke my truth. You guys know what it's like. And so this is just a cool thing to add. Oh, also, I went camping not too long ago, and if I had this, man, I could just plug this into the RV and have chili dogs in the evening. Game changer. So that's it. Those are all the tools I have for you guys. I like making these videos because it gives me an opportunity, it gives me an excuse to buy a bunch of tools I don't already have. That way I can give you guys a closer look at them, give me a closer look at them, fill up my toolbox. But yeah, hope this video brings some value to you guys. But yeah, till the next one, we'll see you.